Hi everybody, welcome to Line of the Week number 151, Motif Development Using Melodic Rhythms. One exercise I like is to take a different rhythm every week, add notes to it, and then develop it over a progression. This is practicing what is called motif development. Common tools improvisers use to develop motifs include the following. The original motif, meaning take a melody rhythm, a melodic rhythm, and add notes to it. Secondly, variation of the original motif, meaning same notes, different rhythm, or same rhythm, different notes. Extension, adding notes to either the original motif or a fragment thereof. Fragmentation, using a part of the motif. Rhythmic displacement, starting the motif on a different beat. Augmentation, making the time values longer, and diminution, making the time values shorter. For an in-depth explanation of these ideas, check out Hal Crook's book, How to Improvise. Before I get to the line of the week, and so we're all on the same page, here are the chords to the progression. The chords are C major 7 to E7 to A7 for 2 measures, to F major 7 to F minor 6, to D minor 7 to G7, resolving to C major 7. In addition to standard notation, tab, chords, and chord scales, I also include hammer-ons, pull-offs, left-hand fingering, and right-hand fingering. I include the left-hand fingering, which I modified from Tim Miller's 2-1-2 approach. I include the right-hand fingering in case you're interested in the fingerstyle approach I use. Here are the chord scales I'm using for this week's line. I use the notes from the chord scales for 2 reasons. First, as a source of notes for improvising, and secondly, to determine appropriate tensions to use for comping. The chord scales are G pentatonic to F melodic minor to E melodic minor, to C major to F melodic minor to C major to A flat melodic minor to G pentatonic. Here's the melodic rhythm I'm using this week. This motif is from Jerry Bergonzi's book, Volume 4, Melodic Rhythms Used with Permission. You can try applying this rhythm to your own music and develop it using some of the tools I described earlier. You'll find that you come up with new ideas that you would not have thought of otherwise. Plus, you can use the process not only for improvisation, but also when you write your own tunes in whatever genre you write in. Here's the line of the week with Guitar Pro backing I use to make sure I'm getting the notes and the rhythm accurate. So let's look specifically at the line of the week. In measure 1, you've got the original motif. In measure 2, you've got a variation of the original motif, meaning same rhythm, different notes. In measure 3, you've got another variation of the original motif. In measure 4, you've got an extension of the original motif. In measure 5, another variation of the original motif. Measure 6, another variation of the original motif. And in measure 7, you've got a fragment of the original motif, meaning a part of the original motif. The first part, in this case, we're talking about the first part of the original motif. In measure 8, you could call this an example of a fragment and an extension and an example of rhythmic displacement, because you take the second part of the original motif, meaning the fragment, and then you add notes to it, which is an example of extension, and then you put it at the beginning of the measure instead of the end of the measure, which would be an example of rhythmic displacement. Also, note the points of resolution of tension by half step. At the point of chord change, it's important to resolve non-harmonic tones, meaning avoid notes or disagreeable notes, by half step to an agreeable note. You can resolve tension either directly, that is immediately, or indirectly, that is within a beat and a half. In other words, at the point of chord change, you only leap from a note if it's agreeable, that is harmonic, to both the chord of the moment and the next chord. Otherwise, you need to resolve the note, preferably by half step. In this line of the week, check out the last note of measure 8, the note A flat under the G7 chord, resolving by half step to the note G under the C major 7 chord. This is an example of resolution of tension by half step. So that's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.